I'm gonna apologize for this in advance because it's already happening outside. If you somehow hear the really loud sounds coming from outside, the people in my neighborhood start setting off fireworks for 4th of July like 3 weeks in advance and then keep it going like 3 weeks after 4th of July. And today is July 3rd. So people are already going ham outside, and some of them are kind of small and cracker sounding and other ones are like really huge booming sounds. So if you hear any weird whizzes, cracks, pops, or explosions from outside, it's fireworks being set off by people in my neighborhood, and I beg that you please be nice about it and please endure it for the video. Hey guys, it's Lilith. Welcome back to my channel. It has been a day. It has been a day. I'm already not feeling great because mental health things, and anybody in the States knows what happened on July 3rd. So, I'm emotionally exhausted, just by existing. So, if I seem a little lackluster in this video and the next video you'll see on this channel, which is also being filmed tonight, then I beg that you stay with me and be as nice as possible. I am masking as much as I can. Today I wanted to film a video about shifting brakes. This is kind of like all things to do with shifting brakes, my experience with them, my advice on them, the importance of shifting brakes, advice on shifting brakes, like what to do on your shifting brakes, how to stick to your shifting brakes, different kinds of shifting brakes, that sort of thing, because I feel like we mention them like by title in the shifting community, but I don't think we do enough to really talk to each other about them, and we just kind of leave people to their devices. And shifting brakes are really hard, so I thought that I would come and talk to you guys about shifting brakes and all the things about shifting brakes. Now, I personally used to hate shifting brakes at the beginning of my journey. I was truly one of those people that I was trying to shift every single day. And at the height of my shifting journey, I was genuinely trying to shift like 2 or 3 times a day. I was immediately getting up in the morning, and when I was half asleep, sometimes I was like, screw it, I'm going back to sleep. I don't care what it does to my sleep schedule. And I was immediately going back to sleep, and then I was taking like a shifting nap where I was trying to shift in the middle of the day. Then I was trying to shift at night, and sometimes I would set an alarm for like 3 hours later to do the wake back to sleep thing that everyone talks about. And I was also trying to shift a couple of hours later at night if the original shifting attempt hadn't worked. Like, it was just so much, and it was exhausting, and eventually I feel like I really fried my brain with it. And I think part of it is because I didn't really have any friends who were into shifting at the beginning of my journey to really like force me to take care of myself and put my mental health first and to put my physical health as a priority. And so there was really no one there trying to keep me in line and make sure that I was taking shifting breaks. So it was happening multiple times a day, every day. Maybe there was like a day every week where I wasn't trying, but barely even that. I think that I was going like weeks and weeks at a time trying to shift multiple times a day. And I really contribute this pattern of behavior to why I ended up taking such a long break after my first mini shift. I feel like a lot of us hit this really desperate point while trying to shift where we feel like we have to try constantly, or we are admitting defeat or giving up, or not trying every day means you're losing practice, almost like every minute that you're not doing it, you're progressing slowly backwards and like losing traction. And that's simply not true. Shifting brakes are really important for your mental health, but also for your physical well-being and your sleep pattern. And I feel like a lot of people feel like it's just not that important, but it really is. Whether it's certain days of the week that you take breaks, or even sometimes if you take breaks for weeks at a time. I had never really taken a break for longer than like a day or two by the time I was about 3 years into my journey, more like maybe 2.5. And then I think it was midway through 2023. Yeah, it was midway through 2023. I ended up taking a 7-week-long shifting break. It was, honestly, it was extremely difficult for me. I had a really hard time with feeling like I was constantly surrounded by things in my room or in my life or on the internet that reminded me of my DRs. And I was at a point where like I was constantly thinking about them, but almost in like an unhealthy, obsessive way. and not in the, oh, this kind of reminds me of that, that's nice sort of way that I do now. It was really intense, and I was deep in my journey, and I was really frustrated, and I didn't know what to do with that. Well, me and my friend Corey, who, if you guys watched the video I posted a couple weeks ago about my hotel DR, she's the person who created the hotel DR. We decided we were gonna go on a big shifting break together in 2023, and originally the goal of the break was a lot shorter than 7 weeks. I think originally we had discussed like a 1 week one, but 1 week didn't seem like long enough to really let us live in our CR and let us focus on our CR and detach from the desperation that comes with constantly trying to shift. And then through the discussions, it became 3 weeks, and then we were like, you know what, let's just settle on like an entire month. And I documented most of my shifting break videos. If you guys check out my TikTok, which you can find in the description below along with all of my other social media, then you can find a playlist on my TikTok called Shifting Break Vlogs, and I vlogged a video every single day about what I did on my shifting break, what I was struggling. Did you hear my wrist crack? What I was struggling with that day on my break, and how much I was thinking about shifting. Oh my god, the fireworks. And how much I was struggling, and what I was thinking about shifting, and what the lesson was that I took away from the break that day. Which, by the way, while you're down there trying to find my TikTok, please also make sure that you are checking out the Batshit Crazy podcast that I run with my best friend Carly, where it's all about shifting all the time. We are filming the next episode tomorrow. And if you are an avid Discord user, then please consider checking out the invite in the description as well for the Batshit Crazy Discord server. It's mainly people that are fans of our shifting podcast, and we sometimes pop in and talk to you guys about topics for the podcast. We talk to you guys about what the podcast is going to be about ahead of time. We let you guys know when we're filming. You get like behind the scenes stuff, and you guys get to see direct links when the podcast is posted, and also any questions that you have for us that you want oh my god, I'm so distracted by the fireworks, that you want featured in a future Q&A on our shifting podcast will first be considered from the podcast server comments, and then from comments from the actual podcast episodes. Last I checked, there's over 125 people in the server right now. Everyone is really, really nice. There are different sections where you can talk about your own shifting stories or read other people's shifting stories. There are sections where you can vent about your frustrations and receive comfort from other shifters. There's motivation sections. There are self-promo sections where you can find social media for other really great shifters. There's a lot of really amazing chat between people just generally about shifting all day, every day. And it's a really great place to ask questions, get motivation, hang out with people, and just have a community where you can talk about shifting whenever you want with over 100 other shifters. And me and Carly are in there every day along with some of our really good friends that are also shifters. So please consider joining the Discord server. It will be in the description of all of my videos from now on. When it came to the little vlogs that I was filming on my TikTok to do with my shifting break, I do believe I gave up like 30 days in. I don't know, because I ended up going on for 7 weeks, but I ended up, I think, stopping somewhere between 3 and 4 weeks into filming the vlogs, because it became kind of frustrating to film my breaks every single day, because I was having trouble filming out in public, and a lot of it was just me talking over footage of my day. So there's like bits of footage of like me at the gym, or me out to lunch with my mom, or me cleaning around the house, or like me setting up to film videos, like whatever. It's just like a lot of bits and bobs of my day, while the voiceover is me talking about my struggles with the break and what I thought of the break and my lessons on the break. But I did go on for multiple weeks longer than the end of those videos, but if you do want to find them, they are in that playlist on my TikTok. And I think the big thing that I really learned from those videos is that it's going to get harder before it gets easier when it comes to extended breaks. Now, when I'm talking to you about shifting breaks, you definitely don't have to take like a 7-week break, but I think it's important to definitely take like a couple of days a week at bare minimum to just not shift. And I think it's also okay that if you lay down to shift one night and you're feeling like, oh, I just don't want to do this. I'm really upset. I'm really frustrated. I'm really tired, whatever. It's okay to take a break. There's nothing wrong with it. You don't have to feel ashamed of it. You're not going to lose your progress, basically. Like, there's nothing that can take that away from you. But honestly, I think sometimes extended breaks can be good. For me, I decided to extend the break because by the time that first month was up, I felt really differently about my shifting journey and really differently about my break. When it first started, I was really, really frustrated, and I kind of felt like I was having withdrawals because no one talks about the fact that it's really easy to get addicted to the routine of shifting, the feeling of shifting, the desperation of shifting. A lot of people don't talk about the fact that sometimes negative feelings in general can be really, really addictive. It is sometimes addictive to be sad. Sometimes it's addictive to feel really, really high and then to just like drop really hard. Sometimes I kind of compare it to like when you have like a loose tooth and you wiggle it even though it hurts. Like, it's like that. Like, I almost couldn't help it. And I went every single day for like the first week or two talking in those vlogs about like how frustrated I was and how like emotionally over it I was from not shifting, and how badly I wanted to just give up, and how I like almost quit the break like partway through multiple times. And it was just like a really, really irritating experience for the first week or two. But Corey and I were really there for each other, and I think that really helped keep each other on track of like, we are doing this for a reason, don't do it yet. And I think by the time that month was over, I can't remember if she kept her break on or if she stopped like we had originally planned, but I kind of realized I needed to keep going because I think about that time I realized it wasn't just about not putting my DR on a pedestal and not taking care of myself emotionally or physically or mentally. I think it was also about the fact that I was tolerating my CR rather than experiencing my CR, and my life here is just as important as my life elsewhere. I have a lot here to be really grateful for, even though life is extremely tough, especially lately, but I have a lot here to be really, really grateful for and happy about. I have a beautiful partner that I love so much, and I have an amazing family that supports me no matter what, and I have wonderful, wonderful friends that really care about me, and I have you guys, and I'm so grateful to have you guys and the platform that you provide to me on every social media platform that I'm on. But I think it's really easy to forget about that in the desperation of wanting to shift and wanting to be in these other places and wanting to be with these other people. And it's really easy to feel badly about yourself and like you're failing and like you're somehow doing something wrong even though you're not. And believe me, I know that feeling and I know that frustration. I actually, about 5 days ago, I came the closest I have ever been to quitting shifting. I'm being very, very real. Because I was so upset and so frustrated because in a couple months, on September 28th, the day after my birthday, is my 5-year anniversary of being in the shifting community, and I still have not had a fully grounded shift in my intended location. And I was like crashing out about that, and I was really upset about that. And I felt like there was nothing that I could do to make that feeling go away, and I was texting poor Carly being like, I'm giving up! I hate this! Like, I mean, like crying, screaming in the middle of the night, crashing out, as my mentally ill self definitely always does. And so I know about that frustration and how exhausting it can be. And sometimes what you need is to step back into your CR. It's important to experience your CR, to find stuff to be grateful for and to be happy about and to live rather than just exist. And when I took that super long break in 2023, I was really, really in a place of, oh, I have been just existing. I'm not living. I'm not experiencing. And I really took that time to step back and get involved in my other hobbies, try to find stuff to make content about otherwise. I even took a little break from making other kinds of content, I think. I think I was actually the lowest I'd been posting at the time. Like, for that whole month, I think I was mostly posting on my backup TikTok, which is all, like, random stuff. And I think on my main account, I was just posting about my breaks. And I think that kind of helped because all of my content is to do with shifting. Everything I post on here is shifting related. And the podcast is about shifting. My entire main TikTok is about is about shifting. I post shifting stuff on my Blue Sky. I can't talk. I'm so distracted by the sounds out there. I post shifting stuff on my Blue Sky and on my Tumblr, and all of the shifting readings that I give to you guys that contact me for tarot readings are all about shifting. And all of my friends are shifters, and my sister is a shifter, and it starts to encompass your life a lot. And I feel like that's also something that I was struggling with recently, because when I took this break before, there was even less shifting related stuff in my life. I didn't have the podcast. I wasn't doing readings for people. And don't get me wrong, I love doing that. I love the podcast. The podcast is so much fun to make, and I look forward to it every time we do it. And I love giving tarot readings to you guys. It is my main source of income at this time, and it means so much to me when you guys trust me enough with your shifting journey to aid you and guide you and to just like really help and encourage you the best way that I can through these readings. Which, by the way, if you want a reading, please contact the email in the description below and you can get a tarot reading from me. I did have to up my prices by $5, so now my readings are $15 US a piece instead of 10, because my demand went up, and also because I do have a disability in this wrist as well as having carpal tunnel over here, and sometimes shuffling is painful, and I need to be compensated a little more if I'm going to be doing my stuff while in pain, which is also why anyone who is interested in getting shifting readings from me before or now or whatever, my turnaround rate used to be a week and now it's 2 weeks, because I need to give myself breaks with the pain, because trying to do readings every single day of the week to get them back in time and for a week was getting really painful. So I have a 2-week turnaround time now. That way I can take days off from it so that I can kind of give my wrists time to breathe. But if you do want one of those shifting readings, please, please, please don't hesitate to reach out and we can have a consultation through email. I do readings from your higher self who's already shifted, from your spirit guides, and channeled readings from people in your DR. And you would be helping out a queer disabled person who runs a small business all on their own. But there really was a lot of shifting in my life at the time still, even then, without the podcast and the readings. And I just felt like swallowed by it. And so I was like, you know what, I need to take 3 more weeks. And I took those total 7 weeks. And by the time it was over, I felt like I'd really gotten like my zhuzh back. Like, if that makes sense. Like, I really got like my excitement for shifting back. And I felt like more calm about it. I didn't feel like I was like desperately gripping onto it. Because the tighter you hold on to something, the harder it is to actually keep it. You're suffocating it. You're breaking it. And that's what I was doing with shifting. I was like clinging onto it so tight, I was leaving nail marks in it and I couldn't keep it, and I was panicking over it. And I feel like taking that time to really sink back into my CR and calm myself down and focus on like my sleep and my mental health and the people around me, I think that it really made a difference, and I was able to walk back into my shifting journey a lot more calm. I also partially contribute this 7-week long break to why I was able to finally mini shift in July of 2023. I can't remember if the break ended in May or June of that year. It was like something around there where it was like a month or 2 before that. And I became a lot more relaxed with myself about shifting attempts after that break. And more nights than I was trying to shift, I was taking breaks. Used to, it was like, oh, maybe I'll take like a night a week, if that. And then it became really the reverse, where like every week I was trying maybe like once a week, because I was being kinder to myself and I was being more aware of like what I could handle and what my mental health could handle. I don't know how many times I tried to shift between the end of the shifting break and when I mini shifted. It was like 1 or 2 handfuls. I don't remember. I said on the podcast the other day, there's like a couple episodes ago, that I was pretty sure that in the last like 2 years I had tried to shift like maybe like 11 or 12 times total. And I'll explain more about that here. I didn't really go into it on the podcast, but I think a couple of those were like in that time, because I also was like really busy over the summer, and I live in a house where it's constantly like anywhere between 80 and 85 degrees, and I'm not joking. Anyone who's on the Discord server knows that I've like posted pictures of the thermostat before, and I'm not allowed to, actually touch it and move the AC up. But it's really hot in here, and I'm easily overstimulated because I'm neurodivergent. So trying to shift in the summer is a lot harder for me than any other month because I'm sweating to death. And I tried a few times between the end of the break and then the actual mini shift in like mid-July. I want to say it was like 2-ish weeks in. And then once I mini shifted, which there's an entire video on my channel about my very first mini shift, it was to my MCUDR. I felt this thing where it was like almost like I was like this, and I went, it was like I had been sitting up and deflated. And it was like a good deflate. I never understood when people said that they made shifting progress and then ended up in a shifting rut. I never understood that ever. I couldn't for the life of me. But then I did. I tried one more time after that. I think it was like the next night. I believe, if I remember correctly, I was using Alunir's Void State 2.0 guided meditation when I mini shifted for the first time. And it was the kind of mini shift where, like, I didn't open my eyes, but, like, I saw light out of this eye, like, out of the corner of it, and I was hearing stuff and feeling stuff, and I knew it was like I had one foot in the door and one foot in the hallway. And I tried the next night, and I want to say I used, like, the interstellar method or something like that. It was like something that was like suggested by a friend, and I can't remember what it was. But I tried like that next night, and I was like, this is not for me. I'm going to take another break. And I think a big part of that was also because I was so overwhelmed by how real everything was. Like, you can say you know that shifting is real until the cows come home. I knew it was real. I completely believed it. I completely believed everyone that I had seen online who had shifting experiences. I knew it was real, but it's like I didn't know, if that makes sense. It's like you spend years trying and not getting there, and it's like you almost forget just how real it's actually going to be. And then you see light coming out of the corner of your eye, and you feel your bed changing, and you feel the space in the room change, and you feel the temperature in the room change, and you hear stuff from another room, and you kind of like crap yourself. And so I think part of it was that I was like, hey, this is way more real than I was aware of. I think I need a break to like process what I'm going through and how hard it's hitting me. But I think also it was because I had tried for so long, even before those 7 weeks I took a break, that I was trying hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of times over like an almost 3-year period. And I was mentally and emotionally exhausted. And it kind of felt almost like my brain was like, okay, you have this piece of proof that it's real and that you are capable of doing it. Stop for a while. And I don't think people really realized that I was on this break because I wasn't openly talking about it, because small breaks are talked about often. Big breaks seem to be taboo in certain parts of the community. And I didn't want to tell people that I was taking like a super, super, super extended break. Originally, it was supposed to be like a couple weeks, and I'm not kidding when I say it turned into almost a year. After the second time that I had tried to shift in July of 2023, I did not try to shift for the rest of July. I mean, not the rest of July. I didn't try to shift for the rest of July. And then I didn't try to shift for the rest of 2023. And I had never taken a break that was longer than 7 weeks. And there were some nights where I was like going to bed being like, hope I end up in my DR. Like, that's not me really trying. Other people can do that and shift. I can't. To me, when I talk about my shifting attempts, it's actually me putting in effort, laying down with a guided meditation or a subliminal of some kind and actually trying to do some sort of method. Like, it's never just me intending and going to sleep. I can't do that. That's not when I talk about it. When I talk about shifting attempts, it's me actually doing methods and trying. And so I'm sure there were several times over that 6-month period of time where I was going to bed being like, I will end up in my DR, and then just like falling asleep, and it wasn't doing anything. And it was like another 6 months of just like not really trying. And then in 2024, God, I don't even really know how many months. I don't really know. I mean, somewhere between 8 and 10. Not of 2024, but it was like 8 and 10 months in total, I think. Because I didn't try from like July of 2023 all the way until, honestly, I would say sometime in the spring of 2024. I feel like it was really, really hard for me to conceptualize just how real it was, and I was going through it, if I'm being so honest with you, and I don't want to be ashamed of that and like not talk about it or pretend that that's not what was going on. I was really going through it. I also had like a really long bout of struggles with mental illness, and I've been dealing with it for years. I've talked about that very openly. I was not doing well up here, and I don't know, I just couldn't. And I don't know how many times I've put in like full attempts to shift in 2024. I'd say between spring and summer of 2024, my best guess is 4. Yes, I'm guessing. My best guess is maybe 4. Because I was just still not in a great place. And 2024 was actually the worst year for me mentally that I've had in like the last decade, if I'm being honest with you. And it was extremely hard for me to care about shifting at that time. Like, things were not so great at the top of the year as it was, but like as the year went on, I steadily declined. I got way worse. I was having panic attacks every day. I wasn't sleeping. I was overeating. Like, a lot of like really, really bad stuff was happening to me. And my family was basically just watching me crumble. So like shifting was absolutely not even slightly at the top of my priority list, and I just couldn't. But I didn't really tell anybody because I was still posting shifting content. If you look at my TikTok during that time, there is still videos of me doing like scenario videos and shifting POVs, humor videos, motivation. Like, I was still actively posting about shifting, but I didn't try to shift for almost a year. And that break was a lot less hard than the 7-week one. I feel like the 7-week one came with a lot of struggles and felt like I was weaning myself off of something. Whereas that one, I felt like my body and my brain did not give me a choice. It was, you are going to take a break or you are going to turn to dust, because I had completely exhausted myself. And then I think I tried to shift maybe like 4 times between spring and summer of that year. And then it was, I'm trying to remember how close to the anniversary of my first mini shift it was. I can't remember exactly when in July it was that I actually, no, when I said before it was like mid-July when I shifted, I was wrong. It was mid-July when I mini shifted for the second time. My first mini shift was at the very end of July, because I remember talking to someone about like, I didn't know if it counted as the last day of July or the first day of August. So I kept counting it as like the last day of July, just in case, because it was the last day of July when I went to sleep. And the second mini shift was about 2 weeks away. Yeah, so, okay, timeline, ADHD. So the second mini shift was about 2 weeks away from the 1-year anniversary of when I first mini shifted. And those shifts were so identical that I actually have trouble telling them apart in my mind when I tell the stories to people. I know that the flashing light over to my left happened in the first one and not in the second one. And also in the second one, I felt more details about the bed that I was laying on. And I also heard talking from next to me, as well as outside of my bedroom door. And I felt someone like leaning on my mattress and moving back and forth. So it felt more intense because someone was talking next to me, which was spooky as and it felt a lot more intense. But just like with the first mini shift, it was like a shock wave to my system. And I was so overcome by how much it took out of me and how emotionally out of it I was, trying to really conceptualize how real it was, that I think I maybe tried to shift the next night, as per usual, and then decided, nope, I'm going on another break. And then I didn't try to shift again for like 6 months. And I know that there are a lot of people who are like, I don't understand how you take such long shifting breaks. Girl, me neither. I don't know. I had no idea how I did it. I think it also was really contributed to by the fact that between July and September of last year was the peak of when my mental health was the most messed up. It was when I was at my darkest and my lowest, and I was just not taking care of myself, and I could not try after that because I knew I was going to put energy into that I should be putting into other stuff. And everyone's going to be different. Your journey is going to be different than mine. But in my personal journey, I only had so much energy, and it's either I can keep trying to shift and suffer, or I could put somewhat of energy into trying to keep myself semi-level. And I had to pick myself at that point. And I hit my 4-year anniversary when I was in the midst of all of the bad stuff, and it was exhausting. Things started to steadily get better because I had made certain changes in my life. I had changed certain habits. I was taking care of myself differently. I was dealing with relationships differently in my life, and I was taking my mental health more seriously. And as those changes kind of like took effect in my life and I began to heal from a lot of trauma that I endured around that time, I started to steadily become more comfortable with the idea of shifting because I could feel myself improving mentally. From July to about mid-December, I did not try to shift again at all. And then in November, I got really, really sick and was sick for like a month. And then there was like a random 3-day span of time in December where I wasn't sick. And I was like, hallelujah, I will be trying to shift during this time. And during that period of time, I can't even really remember what day it was in December. I just feel like it was like a week or two. I think more like 2-ish weeks into December. I started trying to shift and kind of changed up my method because I was going to do a guided meditation. And then I was like, you know what? Never mind. And I ended up mini shifting while asleep instead of awake like I did the first 2 times. If you go back and you watch the videos for all 3 of these experiences, the first 2 are very similar. It was the same meditation, the same method, the same time of year, and both mini shifts were to my MCUDR, and I didn't open my eyes. I just heard and felt things. Whereas when I mini shifted in December, I was using the Wish Fulfilled subliminal made by Carly, who, by the way, if you guys would like to check out her subliminals, her links are in the description below. Her YouTube channel has all of her subliminals on it, but if you want like premium access to her subliminals early and you want little goodies and giveaways and stuff, her Patreon is also in the description. She works super, super hard, so please make sure that you check that out. And also, she and I just collabed on a video that went out today on my channel, which you can go find if you haven't seen it already, where we worked on a shifting subliminal together that is called Lilith's version. And we put stuff in it that was supposed to help encourage you to feel safe and calm and relaxed during your shifting attempt, while also helping you to still feel focused, and also putting stuff in there to help encourage lucid dreaming for those of you that like to shift during lucid dreams. And I really like it. I used it a couple days ago for the first time, and I felt very calm and relaxed. And someone actually commented on the video saying that they felt super relaxed. And that makes my little heart very happy because I was so, so proud of it. And we've been wanting to work on one for months, and all of the stuff that's in it is stuff that like personally works for me. So that's why it's got my name on it, because it's like specifications that I like. So if you like it, you like the same things that I like. But you can find that video along with all of my other reality shifting videos, including the storytime videos I've mentioned thus far, in the playlist down in the description called My Other Reality Shifting Videos. I would love if you would check that out. And trust me, the subliminals, very, very good. I'm going to use it tonight. But I was using Carly's subliminal, The Wish Fulfilled, and I was doing Carly's method, the Any Moment method. And I fell asleep feeling very, very calm, very zen, almost like sure of myself, but not like in a cocky way. I was just quietly, calmly confident. Just, yeah, I know that. Just like as calmly as I can say that I have red hair, you know? It was just like a very calm assuredness. And I opened my eyes in an alternate version of this room that night. And the breaks along the way during all of this get shorter and shorter, you'll notice, because the first gigantic break was like 8 to 10 months, and then it was like 6 months. And then the break between when I was trying to shift got smaller, because I kind of had to process the fact that I'd actually opened my eyes in a place that wasn't here. And that was spooky and terrifying and overwhelming. So I didn't try to shift again for a few months. Carly and I believe we talked about like trying to shift to our private DR that we don't talk about online in like February-ish of this year, but I was sleeping on the couch and struggling with an injury I had just gotten out of the hospital for at that time, and there was no way that I was going to feel comfortable enough to actually try to shift. And so I think it was more of one of those, I'm gonna shift honk shoe, like there was more of that. I didn't really start putting like effort into trying to shift again until April. So it went from like 6 months to 4 months. And I believe I tried to shift twice to my Salem DR before I mini shifted to my Salem DR. I did not make a video about that because I felt like it was even less to report experience wise than my first 2 mini shifts. For anyone who wants to hear what that is, it was basically just that I was trying to shift in April, and I thought I was using the Any Moment subliminal, but I just found out from Carly that apparently that only came out like a month ago. So I'm sorry if I've accidentally been saying the wrong thing to you guys and saying, oh yeah, I just shifted with the Any Moment subliminal. You know you didn't, loser. You only were using the Any Moment method. I was apparently using her subliminal Haven, which was shocking news to me. Having ADHD is so annoying because I really have no idea what I'm talking about half the time. But anyway, but when I mini shifted that night, I didn't see anything. But when I mini shifted that night, I did feel an AC on my face. The AC here turns on very, very rarely, and it's also like underneath of my bed, and only about this much of it's actually visible because half of it is covered up by my bed and the rest of it is covered up by this bedside table, so you can't actually see very much of it. And even when you do feel it, you have to like reach down to feel it. I felt AC almost like it was coming from like this way at me, like towards the top of my face, and I felt it like from here up, almost like it was like from a vent on my ceiling that was like sloped down in a way. And I know that they have those like little covers on like half of them sometimes to get like air to come out like that. It was almost like that. And I felt the space of the room change again, except when the space changed, it wasn't as big of a space change as when I was shifting to my MCU DR, because my room in my MCU DR is huge because I live in Tony's house with him, and dude lives in a mansion. And in my Salem DR, I live in a normal sized house. So my room is a very normal size. But I felt the space change, and I do believe I remember feeling the bed underneath of me change. And I was a lot more calm about registering like, oh, I think I have shifted. Like, I don't think I was panicking as much. I was really, really paranoid when I was shifting during an awake method the first 2 times. I do actually prefer the idea of a sleep method. That way that like I'm not having that like panic induced, oh my god, I'm shifting, don't panic, like, because I do panic because your girl has anxiety and paranoia. But I was a little more calm during this one, and I was like, okay, I'm doing it, got it. But then like I couldn't ground myself. I felt really distracted, and it was a little bit before I tried to shift again after that, but not nearly as long. I think it was something like, I'd say like maybe like a month and a half, maybe 2 months. It wasn't long. But I don't think I really started like properly trying to shift again until it was sometime in like May or June. I don't know. I'm so bad with timelines. But it was sometime in the last like 2 months that I started trying to shift again. And I think in the last month or 2, I have actively sat down to try to shift, I'd say maybe 6 or 7. I don't know. I've done a lot of attempting to shift in the last like month-ish, by my scale, not other people's. But it's really, really hard for me to try to shift during the summer because it is so hot here. I literally go to bed with like my clothes sticking to me because I am so hot that like my clothes become wet. My whole family is like that because it is genuinely like 83 degrees in the house. And then my room's always been the hottest because it's a corner room with like no cross ventilation and it faces the front of the house. So my room's always at least 7 degrees hotter than the rest of the house. And it's exhausting to try to shift in that kind of heat because I can't focus. I'm too overstimulated. I'm too uncomfortable. I forgot I had a chain on my jeans and I heard it make noise and it scared the crap out of me. And I haven't mini shifted since then, and I got really frustrated with myself less than a week ago, and I was like, I quit shifting. I'm done. I don't want to do this anymore. And Carly had to kind of talk me off the ledge. She's like, no, you will regret it if you quit. Understand what you are giving up. Understand the people you are walking away from. And that was really what got me, because I have so many people that I love and care about in my DRs, and I don't want to give up those lives, especially when I've had experiences being in other places, and especially when I've had so many memories and realizations that tie me to these places and these people. And so I decided I was going to take a break. And the BS was that I was like, I'm going to take a break for like a week. It lasted 3 days before I tried to shift again. And that was because I was test driving the subliminal that Carly and I made. And it's good. It's good. But I feel like I need to do better about like balancing shifting attempts with non-shifting attempts. As it cools down, I will eventually get around to doing it more often. But I feel like it was just really, really hard, and I tend to take more breaks than I do not take breaks now. But I think it's important to make sure that you are also experiencing your CR life and not just your DR life. And now that I have spent a really long time talking about my personal experiences with shifting breaks, let me talk to you about what you probably came here for, which is tips and tricks and stuff to do on your shifting breaks to help distract you and help you get through the break. Number one thing that I will tell you is it's a really good time to watch or experience media that you don't shift to. I have a lot of DRs, so it's a little harder for me than it is for other people, but I try my best during shifting breaks to allow myself to watch other shows and other movies, read other books, because I feel like a lot of the time we do that thing as shifters where we reconsume the media, not just because we love it, but because we're trying to keep it fresh in our minds right before a shift, or we're trying to motivate ourselves to shift. And I feel like it can get a bit repetitive, and I'm also neurodivergent, so I watch the same stuff over and over again all the time anyway. So watching shows and movies and stuff that I don't want to shift to is a really good way to keep me distracted. I also suggest, if you're going to do that, maybe try to watch things you've never watched before that are like that on your list of things that you want to watch, because that way you are engaged enough that you're like, okay, cool, I'm watching this new thing. I will think less about shifting because I'm engaged and want to watch this show all the time. I get really obsessive with things that I watch, so maybe that's just me. But I focus easier if I'm consuming new content rather than content that I already know how it is. And so big tip is to consume media you don't want to shift to. Maybe if you know you're not going to want to shift to that place, it'll be a little bit easier. So maybe try to pick media you know you won't want to shift to. But it's a really good time to consume media that doesn't have to do with your DR. Another big one that I suggest is make sure that you are indulging in hobbies that have nothing to do with shifting. This is not only a great way to really experience your CR fully and remind yourself you have a full life here that you also need to take care of and pay attention to, but also it'll act as a really great distraction. I myself, during my shifting break, was spending more time reading. I actually just started a new dark romance on my Kindle. I'm holding it like this because there's a suspicious peach that I'm trying to cover on the back. I do have like the cutest stickers though. I got them from the TikTok shop, but I have to cover that one because it's suspicious. I say that like the yes daddy isn't suspicious. Anyway, I also spent a lot of time playing video games. I'm currently taking a break from my run through of Baldur's Gate 3 on my Xbox, and I was forced I say, to take a break from my first run through of Stardew Valley, because I originally got my Switch as a birthday gift last year from Carly, and I was playing on her games that were already on the Switch, but it's looking like I'm gonna have to buy my own copy of Stardew Valley in order to play it because of the updates that Nintendo made. I can no longer play games that I haven't personally purchased and put on there myself. So I'm gonna have to get another thing of that, and I'm hoping that my save file won't get destroyed. So I haven't played that in weeks, and it's very annoying because I was playing it multiple times a day for a while. For anyone who's wondering, I am a Harvey girly, and I accept no judgments about that. But while taking a break from those games, I did decide to get into some new ones. I did download Date Everything, And I think I've met 79 of the 100 datables. I haven't gotten the DLC. My sister got the DLC, so she met the other 2 datables. But I have met 79, I believe, of the datables. I am in a hate relationship with 2 of them, which is upsetting because one of them is someone that I was trying to romance and it didn't work. I suddenly cannot remember exactly how many friendships and romances that I have off the top of my head. Off the top of my head, I can remember at least 4 characters that I'm friends with. I know for a fact there's more than that. I just, off the top of my head, when I haven't touched the game since yesterday and have ADHD, can only think of 4 characters off the top of my head that are friends with me. I'm also blanking on which characters are in love with me. I know for a fact there's over a dozen, but suddenly all of the characters are escaping me, but I can think of at least 9 off the top of my head that are in love with me. But I am steadily making my way through the game, and I really love it. It's like a really nice, cozy, rom-com-esque kind of goofy game that I'm really liking, that's kind of replacing the like really easy, cozy vibes that I had from Stardew Valley, even though the games are very different. And to replace my adventurous fantasy vibes that I was having while I was playing Baldur's Gate, which I'm taking a break from because I'm at a very frustrating part of the game that's annoying the hell out of me, but I miss playing it and I miss my baby Astarion. I have been playing Dragon Age Inquisition. And I have no idea how far I am into that game, but I don't think it's very far. But I spent time during my break playing video games and reminding myself that I do have other hobbies. And between doing that and reading and spending time with my wife and hanging out with my friends talking about stuff that isn't just shifting related and spending time with my family, I think that I kind of got myself back on track. And sometimes just like reminding myself I am allowed to do other things does help. It's also good to have projects, which is my next suggestion, which is very different than hobbies. Hobbies is a thing you do regularly to have fun and relax. Projects are things to work on for a certain amount of time. And I decided that I wanted to work on a project that wouldn't take me super long. So I decided to like deck out and decorate a computer bag. I've been wanting to do my editing for both these videos and the podcast out of the house because it is so hot here that working on like a hot computer is really hard. So I wanted to be able to take my computer to like a coffee shop or a library and work outside of the home. And so I bought a messenger bag and I covered it in a bunch of buttons and keychains, and I bought pyramid studs and I put over 75 studs on the bag myself. It's got a chain and it's got safety pins. Like, the point of it was to kind of heal my inner teen. Like, people who see me can tell that like I'm an alternative person. I mean, I have rings in my nose and I have red hair and I'm wearing a t-shirt from a metal festival, and you know, I like a certain aesthetic. But when I was a teenager, I was very, very like emo, and I lived and breathed for Black Veil Brides and MCR and Pierce the Veil, and I had black and pink hair, and I was like, nobody understands me. And I sat around in the dark with my black light on, listening to emo music and just being in my feels and writing sad poetry about how no one understood me in the darkness of my soul. It was a moment. And I miss it a lot. I even forced my mom to listen to like my throwback playlist from my teen years today with all of that music on it. And it also had like Evanescence and like Panic at the Disco. And I think it had like, I think I remember listening to a little bit of like The Killers and Jimmy Eat World today. Like, I should say Immy Jeet. Who is that? But I was really feeling it, and I got inspired by this guy that I follow on TikTok that makes like throwback emo content, and he has this bag that he's had since high school that was decked out with like buttons and studs and keychains and stuff. And I was like, you know what? I love that, and I really want something that looks like that. So I made my own version of that, and I'm not going to show you in this video because I'm hoping to direct you to the video that's going to come out a week after this, where I usually make shifting content, but I do want to make a video about this bag. I had people asking me what all was on it, and I'm really proud of how it turned out. I was really excited about it, and I said that every once in a while I would post stuff on this channel that wasn't related to shifting, so the next video on this channel is going to be a tour of the bag and talking about like how long it took me to do certain things on the bag, where I got different things on the bag from, and taking you through a tour of like all the keychains and all the buttons and stuff like that. So if you want to see that and just see stuff that I'm interested in, just, you know, wait for that video next week. But having that helped. It gave me something to focus on and work on. I also was spending a lot of time working on stuff for work and doing tarot readings. So honestly, I think my biggest tip to you is have distractions. Be distracted by hanging out with people in your life. Be distracted by watching media you've never seen before. Be distracted by having a project or a craft of some kind. Be distracted by doing your favorite hobbies. Maybe take that time for physical self-care, or go on an adventure, or go on a trip or something. Like, have reasons to distract yourself. Other advice that I can give is to be gentle with yourself. Sometimes taking breaks, whether they are long or short, can lead to a lot of guilt and feeling like you're regressing in your journey and beating yourself up because you somehow feel like you're failing the people you're trying to shift to. You're not. You are not failing them. You are not failing you. You are not doing anything wrong. You are not going to lose your ability to shift. You're not backtracking on your progress. Breaks are important mentally, emotionally, and physically, because if not, you burn yourself out, and that's not good either. So be gentle with yourself about it. And if you have friends that are into shifting, maybe kind of have them on standby as like the person to check in on you, or the person you can go to when you feel like breaking the break early and you've set yourself a certain amount of time. Have that person remind you why you are doing it and why it's good for your health to take a break. Make sure you're reminding yourself why you're still doing this break, no matter how long it is. Also take this time during this break to maybe journal and work on gratitude. I think that being grateful for things in this reality really helps me to feel aligned and calmer. And honestly, being grateful even just for finding shifting. I think something that I encourage people to do when they're taking breaks is to spend time doing journaling and shadow work and writing down gratitudes. Maybe pick a certain amount of things that you are grateful for every single day. It could be something as small as like, I'm grateful for the color black. I am grateful to have a roof over my head. I am grateful that my nail polish didn't chip today. Like, it could be small stuff, or it could be being grateful for individual people in your life. And sometimes it's hard to even find like 3 on a bad day. And then there are some days it's going to be really easy to find 20 things that you are super, super grateful for. But I think that that really helps. And sometimes talking about things you're grateful for in your DR, or being grateful for certain shifting content creators you like, or being grateful to have found shifting at all, can sometimes make you feel more grateful for the ability to even have a break from shifting, because you get to know about shifting, and that's something to be really grateful for. I also suggest during this time that if you are feeling really upset and frustrated with trying to take this break, or maybe being frustrated is why you're taking the break, this is also a good time to journal and do shadow work to figure out what the roots of your frustration are, and maybe to help you work them out in a really healthy way if you don't have people to talk to about it. Even if you do have people to talk to about it, journaling and shadow work cannot hurt in that regard. Expressing yourself in a healthy way is always great. I also suggest during your break, maybe feel like you are doing something towards your shifting journey without actually doing something towards your shifting journey. And what I mean by that is listening to certain subliminals that are supposed to help you when you're not actually trying to shift. My example for this, when I talk to anyone who's like, I just want to take a break for a week, but I want to feel like I'm still doing something for my journey even though I'm not trying to shift. If you go and find Carly's videos down in the description below, please, please, please go to her channel and find the playlist that is labeled Shifting Bootcamp. It is 7 videos all in a row. They're supposed to be listened to one after the other every night. 7 videos for 7 days. I listened to Shifting Bootcamp back in December. 1 a night for a week. 2 days. 2 days after I finished Shifting Bootcamp is when I opened my eyes in another reality. Different parts of the Shifting Bootcamp videos are formulated to help your brain with different and to rewire certain parts of your brain. So I really suggest listening to Shifting Bootcamp if you're taking a break for like an entire week. If you're taking a short break and you want to take a break for like a day or two, she also has a video on her YouTube about your RAS, which is something that's very hard for me to understand, and I can't fully put it into words. You can see her talking about it on her TikTok, which you can find down there. And I also believe that there is an explanation in the description of the RAS video, what RAS is for and what the subliminal is supposed to help you with. But it's basically supposed to help rewire parts of your brain's expectations when it comes to shifting. That's the bare minimum of how I try to describe it to people, because I don't understand all the sciencey stuff. But listening to that has helped me to feel better the next day about my shifting journey. So going and finding her RAS subliminal or her videos about shifting boot camp are a really good thing to do when you want to feel like you're helping your shifting journey without actually trying to shift. When I take breaks for like an entire week at a time, sometimes I re-listen to boot camp or I listen to RAS a couple times. And I think that could be really helpful. So going and finding that is a great way to feel like you're still contributing to the journey, even though you're technically giving yourself a break and just listening to it while you sleep. You're not doing a method or anything. And I think that my final tip for you when it comes to shifting breaks is to really listen to yourself when it comes to it. It's really easy to be like, oh, I don't need a break. But if you are experiencing a lot of burnout, if you're feeling frustrated when you try to shift, if you feel like you're gripping onto shifting too tightly, if you're feeling really exhausted by it, if you're just feeling upset by it, it could be a good time for a break. And it's really easy to tell yourself, no, I don't want to take a break. I don't want to stop trying. You need to listen to yourself. You need to listen to yourself when your body is trying to tell you how exhausted you are, when your mind is trying to tell you how panicked and frustrated you are. And so it's really important to really recognize for yourself when it's time for a break, or maybe explain how you're feeling to your friends and let those around you explain to you what they see if you have trouble listening to yourself. But it's really good to make sure you're paying attention to what you and others notice about you to figure out if maybe it's time for a break, whether it's a very short one that lasts a couple days, a semi-long one that lasts a week or more, or even a long one that lasts several months. I think that's all that I have for you today. This video was so much longer than I meant for it to be because I went into such detail talking about my experiences with shifting breaks. Thank you for watching this video today. If you are not already subscribed, please hit the big red subscribe button below. Also, anyone who is already subscribed and wants to know when I post a video, please click the notification bell and make sure you turn it on for like always or all or whichever it is to be alerted whenever I upload. I was someone let me know. I can't even talk because these fireworks are so distracting. Someone let me know in a recent TikTok live that I did that they've been subscribed to me for a long time and had no idea that I've been uploading regularly, like every week for like 3 months, because they haven't seen me in their subscription box, even though it says that they're still subscribed to me. So if you want to be alerted every time that I upload, please click the notification bell, click always, and come and check out my videos every single Thursday at 3 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. While you're down there subscribing, please also check out everything in the description. You will find all of my social media links. Everything that has to do with shifting is not just here, but also my main TikTok, my Blue Sky, my Tumblr, and the Batshit Crazy podcast, and the link to the Batshit Crazy Discord server if you want to not only be able to talk to me and my friend Carly, but also over 120 other really amazing shifters that are so great and giving each other advice and building each other up and sharing experiences. It could be a really great place for you guys to go to make new friends. Please also check out the email that I have in the description below if you guys are interested in reaching out to me for tarot readings. Like I said before, it is my main source of income while I wait for this channel to be monetized, and I would really appreciate it if you would check it out. Please also check out the playlist in the description with all of my other reality shifting videos if you want to see what other videos I have made, including the shifting subliminal that went up today that me and Carly worked on together. And you can also find Carly's links in the description as well, including her Patreon, which I think you should definitely subscribe to because there's some really good stuff over there. I think that's all that I have for you guys today. As I said before, if you guys are interested in seeing the bag I talked about in this video, please make sure you tune in for the video I have coming out next week where I basically take you on a trip through everything that's on the bag. So I will see you guys later. Love you. Bye.